Hi guys, Rachele here with Amethyst Ascension, and I wanted to do a really quick video before we start the series on bead weaving and or bead embroidery, however you want to term it. Actually, they are really two different things, but this one is more bead weaving because you're not sewing it onto a back. You're just sewing them all together in this one is a double bead peyote. This one is bead embroidery because it's actually being put onto, and this I actually did not make. It was gifted to me. I did an exchange years and years ago with a lady by the name of Olga in Sweden. I made one for her and she made one for me. But here's another example for a bracelet. I mean, I know I showed you some necklaces, but you can do bracelets like this too. It makes them really fluid. If you're not, really big on the cuff bracelets, which I'm not because of being a bigger lady. So, this really is going to be about showing you the different things that you can do. I told you I would show you my dream book. Now, I know it looks a little off center here, but work with me a second. As this grows and fills up, because this is like a travel one that you can get from Michael's. It has all of the inserts, which I'm not going to show you all my dreams and stuff, but you can add more. So as this grows, and let's say as you finish one off, you can put the dates between and then store them somewhere, and you always have your main dream book. Now, like I was saying though, as this grows and becomes thicker, then it's going to be taken up by both of the edges. You see, I have not been doing dream journaling in this for that long yet, so, and I don't always remember my dreams. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Sometimes they seem insignificant, so I don't bother. Other times they seem wowza, so that's when I put them in there. But this was just an example of, I made one for my sister too. Hers is a little bit different. Hers is like lavender and blue with, I think, a butterfly on the front and all that. But that's just one example. All right, that's enough, guys. It never fails, right? So I showed you the last time. This is something that you can do. Sully, that's enough. Do you want to go upstairs? Lay down. Leave the kitty cats alone. Okay, so that was another. I've stopped even trying to block all this stuff out, edit it out, because I'm seeing more and more people. Actually, one of the ladies did a bloopers reel of all the time she was interrupted by her animals. I just thought that was hilarious, and I loved it. I love watching all of the animal videos anyway, so I don't care. But these are another example. You can do around a regular bead. I think these are serpentine. Fire polished beads. Oops. And these are just examples. I've got other ones, but I looked for them, but I'm not sure. They might be down in the basement somewhere. So, but you can do earrings like this, where you put it around something, maybe even smaller, which I'll grab my cabochons again, and then have danglies hanging down. So it's more of like Southwestern style or Egyptian style, whatever, however you want to, however you want to do it. So some of the things that you're going to need. The thread that I use, I started off years and years ago using beading thread. But the thing is, and you have to stretch it firsthand because they can become quite substantial. And over time, they can be stretched out. So now what I do is get Fireline. Now you can either go to a regular store like Michael's, or you can go to even like Lowe's or Home Depot, Menards, and pick yourself up some just regular Fireline. You're going to want about a 6-pound, because I find that that's a small enough thread, because when I show you some of the other beads that you're going to, like for instance, let me pull out some of these. Okay, not those. All right, these are called seed beads. Let me see if you can see that. There you go. These are extremely tiny. They're called Delicas. Delica's a name brand. They are very, very uniform, which means all of the beads are almost identical. They're all glass, and then they have different finishes on them. I'll take a picture and show you some of them. I've got so many seed beads, it's crazy. But, so this is another thing that you're going to want to get is some seed beads. And you're probably going to want some various size seed beads, various colors, depending on what you want to do. And I'll also, down below, put a couple of suggestions of places that you can go. But if you're really getting started and you don't have any supplies at all, I would suggest a place like Fire Mountain Gems. The reason being is because the more items that you buy, and they don't all have to be of one thing. So the more items that you buy, let's say like 1 to 15, you get 1 to 15 items, you get a price. Then the next category is like 16 to 25 items, you get a cheaper price, and on and on and on. So if you add this, and I'll show you a couple other things, like some leather, or you can use like faux leather. It's just got to be something that doesn't fray, because this is what your backing is going to be made of. Now, I got this actually from Michael's by their, I'm trying to think, I think by where you can make like little purses and clutches and, like leather stuff. Now, here is, I also have these. Now, this is just a small little, you can just go and buy some fabric, or you can purchase the little mats, and I'll show you why, because once you start dealing with these seed beads, if I can get it out of there, do you see how, look at how tiny they are. Now, if you have really bad eyesight, I would suggest getting yourself a pair of strong reading glasses. Even if you don't have bad eyesight, it can be very straining on the eyes because they are really tiny. And I'm trying to think, do I have a project that I was working on already over here for you to see? Okay. Yeah, to show you the needle, and I started this a while back, and sorry, I got so many things on this desk because I wanted to show you so many different aspects of it. I had started a bracelet. And then just never finished it. But as long as you keep all of the items that you're using together, you should be okay. Well, let me set that aside for a second. Okay, so here is the needle. It's a beading needle. It's approximately 3 inches, 2.5 to 3 inches long. It's got a very tiny eye. Let me bring this up a little bit higher. It's still connected. It's got a very, and I don't even know if you can see that. Am I even in the camera? Where are we at? Okay, just take my word, because I can't tell, it's so tiny. You're going to want actual beading needles. And I will also put a link showing you the size. And the reason that you're going to want to do this is because if you look here, they are very tiny. So in order to get them to go all the way through, you see the eye has to be super tiny. And as we get started, I will show you little tricks, because my eyes are not even the best anymore. Little tricks on how to thread your needles that make it so much easier. I was thinking once somebody showed me this, I'm like, oh my gosh, why didn't I know about that years ago? So anyways, little tricks like that. But I think for starters, we're going to just do a regular cabochon, just to get you started. And then after that, and we might introduce some peyote stitches around the cabochon. This one's not finished yet. This is a peyote stitch that's around it. There, you might be able to see it better. But once we do that, I can also show you how to do stitches like these. And just single stitches, and it's probably easier to see from this side. Oh, let me do that. There's that better? There you go. Now you can get a better look at it. So you're going to need some fire line. You're going to need some, I always highly suggest E6000. It is like industrial strength, because you're going to initially be, which I hadn't showed you this yet, but oh, I got more thread on it here. You're going to need some felt paper. Now they have all different colors of felt. I usually just use the basics. However, you can use whatever colors you want. They have a lot of different kinds. And I suggest getting a stiffer one if you can. This one's a bit stiffer. This one's not as stiff, because this is what you're initially sewing on, is on this. That's how you can hide all of your stitches, because it's double layered. If I could show you, well, see, this one's finished. This one's not finished. You can still see the felt line in there. Now, depending on what color that you're doing, you might want to get a different colored, either dark or white, depending on how tight your stitching is around it. So keep that in mind when purchasing. Now, cabochons, you're going to want a cabochon. A cabochon has a flat side. There's other things that you can use, but I say to begin with, to really get your feet wet, so to speak, let's keep it simple. And then you can expand from there. So this is just a regular cabochon, a tiger's eye cabochon. You see it's rounded and then flat on the bottom side. Okay? So pick one, pick two, think about the project that you want to do, because when I show you how to do one cabochon, that will work with any cabochon that you're doing. So if you, instead of just wanting to do one, you end up doing a string of them because you want to, you know, tie them all together, I should say sew them all together to make a bracelet or to make a necklace, whatever. So when I was talking about Fire Mountain gems, which like I said, I will put a link to their place down below in the description. But so essentially when you buy in bulk, you get wholesale price. You don't have to have a wholesale license because you're just doing a hobby. So that's one of the best places that I can suggest when you're beginning to do this kind of stuff, unless of course you already have a wholesale license because you've been making jewelry and selling it, perhaps just not bead woven jewelry or, you know, bead embroidery, okay? Then in that case, if you already have an account somewhere, they more than likely have cabochons there or something that you can use. Just keep in mind, you're going to want to sew around the sides and the front and come up around the front to secure it in a little bit, like so. That's why you're going to want a flat side on one and rounded to begin with, okay? Also, where did my cap go? Because these can go all over the place, excuse me. There's other things that you can put in, like what you've seen here, sewing in when you sew them together. You can use pearls for finishing edges. You can use different kinds of seed beads like these they're called bugle beads. You see how they are? So I will show you how to do all of those. So other than that, I think that's all you're going to need to begin with. If you want to get a book, I wanted to do some suggestions for books that I have here. This is like your Beader's Bible, so to speak, Beader's Companion. I loved this. It talks about different things, but one of the reasons that I really love this, and I've always reverted back to it, is because it's got all your millimeter sizes. Beads, most generally, when you're buying them, are not in inches or centimeters, they're in millimeters. And this has a little chart for you to show you in person exactly what size is what. And a 25 millimeter is roughly like an inch size. And it also has like a bead stringing. So like if you're buying a strand of 10 millimeter beads, and it's a 16-inch strand, this is approximately 40. I'm sorry, let me put it up higher. You see, you're getting approximately 40 beads. So this is a great little companion book. Another one, Mastering Beadwork. This one shows stitches, which I will do some tutorials. Personally, I have no problem learning out of a book. I never really needed any kind of visual myself, but I know a lot of people that just, it's too difficult for them to learn that way. I actually used to teach some of these classes at a bead shop that my friend owned. So some people, they just really needed that little extra help. So, but look at what you can do. Look at that necklace. It's just friggin', and this is bead weaving. This is not bead embroidery because you're not beading around something else. You're not, you know, doing a stitch into fabric. So this was a good book. Mastering Beadwork, a comprehensive guide to off-loom techniques. And none of my items have ever been loom. I never tried a loom, so I don't know. But I was a member of a bead weaving group off of Etsy years ago, the International Bead Weavers group. And some of the ladies used looms, and some of the stuff that they did was, oh my gosh, just like amazing. This was actually one of the ladies that was in the group, Marcia DeCoster. This is an, I got these books years and years ago, but I mean, this woman is just a master of beading. I mean, look at that. Oh. So, and look at that. See? These are just stunning. So that's another book that I would suggest is Marcia DeCoster's Beaded Opulence, Elegant Jewelry Projects with Right Angle Weave. So there's that one. Beading with Cabochons. This is an awesome book. I think this was one of my very first bead weaving books, or bead embroidery books, I should say. I seen these, and it talks about everything that you're going to need. It goes through the whole process of what I'm going to show you. And mine is just going to, I'm just going to show you as I'm doing it. And perhaps later on down the road, we might do live, so that as I'm doing something, if you have a question, we can do it together. But that's something that we'll have to determine as we get going. But I would be more than happy to do that. But, I mean, just look at that. Crazy Lace Agate, Indian Agate. Ay, caramba. It's just beautiful. And it goes through the whole process. So let me show you some of the stuff in here. I mean, it is just beautiful. Look at those. Look at the stuff that you can do. Look at that. Look at that, would you? Oh my gosh, look at that. I would show you a lot of the stuff that I had, but I done sold it a long time ago. I used to sell, like I said, on Etsy internationally. I've sold to people in France, Israel, Africa, the UK. All right, so that's a good book. And that one's called Beading with Cabochons, Simple Techniques for Beautiful Jewelry by Jamie Cloud Aiken. Okay, so another one is Creative Native American Beading. Peyote, one of them that I talk about, probably because it's like I think it was the first stitch that I ever learned, but it's like my favorite. It's like, there's so much you can do with it, and it's just stunning. And I've always been really inspired by like ancient cultures and Native American stuff. Oh, look at that. I mean, I don't know if you can see these, but... And the colors. Ay, look at that. Little medicine bags. You can do bead weaving around items. I mean, pins, special pins. Really, your imagination is your only limitation when it comes to beading. So you get the idea. I mean, look at. Beautiful. Oh, I want to show you this one. Look at these diagrams and these colors. Beautiful. Okay, so there's that one. This one, oh my gosh, this is an old one. This just goes to show how old it is. It's got a CD in it, right? But this has a general, it goes through and talks about the different cuts, the different types of gemstones. And as you get further along, too, there's other things that you can add into your bead woven stuff. I've done items that have bone in them. I've done items that have horn, items that have wood, fossils, the ammonite, I'm just pearls, you know, glass, other gemstones. So here's another one that just has like some really good geometric designs and stuff. And this is more your bead embroidery on a bigger level. But just to show you if that's something that you're interested in. Joan Elliott's Native American cross stitch. And I'll tell you, this lady right here, Sherry Serafini, oh, and Heidi Comley, wowza. Their bead embroidery and bead weaving, and they are just, I mean, they're like the rock stars of bead weaving. At least they were when I started doing this. I mean, oh my gosh, look at that. I mean, it's like one of those Wayne's World, we're not worthy, we're not worthy. They're just like so good. Just beautiful, stunning. I know Sherry Serafini, I looked at some of her galleries years ago, like 10 years ago. She had made like a really cool belt for Steven Tyler of Aerosmith. She was just like, both of the ladies were very much my inspiration, but more Sherry Serafini, because her colors are just so vibrant, just like over the top, and that's me, let me tell you. That's my style. Although Heidi Cooley, her stuff was more like muted, really earthy, Native American inspired, a lot of like animal spirit stuff, just still stunning, gorgeous. I mean, look at this, doing something like this even on top of a box. Imagine, I mean, anything and everything that you can do with bead weaving. It is a true art form, and it takes dedication. I mean, if you're somebody that needs instant gratification, then I would not even start this. Seriously, I would not start it, because it's not instant gratification in the beginning. You are going to make mistakes. I have known people to just take their beads and everything and just throw them across the room because they got so frustrated. I've never done that. I wanted to, don't get me wrong, I wanted to, but I knew that if I did, all of my beads, all my tiny little beads would be all over the place. So I didn't, but I wanted to. And I have done something where I've worked on it for 10 hours and then screwed it up, and I had to start all over again. I had to cut it all apart and start all over again, and that just sucks. But those times are going to happen, and you actually do want that, because once that happens, trust me, you're going to learn such a huge lesson on what not to do that you become such an expert at how to do these things. But once you finish something, I mean, look at that. Look at how friggin' stunning that is. This is a round, like a metal necklace blank. I mean, oh my gosh. The fringe, ay caramba, it's beautiful. Look at some of the earrings that you can do. Let me come up closer where you can see that. And look at the colors. So this one is called The Art of Bead Embroidery, Technique, Design, and Inspiration by Heidi Cooley and Sherry Serafini. Okay? So, if there's anything else that I've missed, that I'm just not thinking about right at this moment, that I have not included in the description down below, then just give me a comment, okay? And I will be sure to answer that. But this is something that I'm going to start doing it anyways, here probably about once a week. Maybe like every Thursday, I'll start uploading something next for the next stage. And I will put, like I said, the stuff for, you know, like, where to get all your supplies, firemountaingems.com. I hope you you know, want to join me on this little journey. It's been a while since I've done this again, so it's kind of re-inspiring me. I'm not sure how well my hands are going to hold up, because it is a lot, you know, especially holding this needle for hours at a time, sometimes, depending on how dedicated you are. But another reason I like this is because it really does not take long to do one. It's like an instant gratification every time you do one of them. So, and it's not as difficult as you might think. And the only way you're going to know whether or not it's something that you can do is to just friggin' go for it, right? So, I tell you, I never thought I was artistic by any means. I thought my sister growing up had all of the talent, because she could draw and she could sing. And really, I mean, we were just small town people. We didn't know any different. My mom really didn't know any different about what is considered artistic. And I went into a bead store, and it's like a light bulb went off, or like someone knocked me upside the head and said, this is what you need to be doing. So it was like a whirlwind romance, you know. They were just calling to me. These right here, these beads and beading was the catalyst into other things that you see now. That was like my, so to speak, starter drug, okay? Because once I started doing that and then selling the items, I started putting what was in the items in the descriptions, and coming to find out that there's healing properties and magical properties to the gemstones and color associations and to your chakras. This is what started it all for me years and years ago. And so my first passion has really been the beads. I mean, I could just cover my body in these beads because they're just so yummy. So anyways, I hope you like this series. I hope you take this journey with me. And if there's anything that I've left out, please leave me a comment. I will probably do the next one, and we will actually start one next Thursday. But these are not going to be live to begin with, okay? Like I said, eventually I may go to live. But for right now, I wanted to have something for the different steps. Each little step, we're going to do it short. This has been a long one, but the rest of them are going to be kept pretty short. That way, it's just easy for you to learn really quick. And if you have questions, then I'll do it, you know, a follow-up to that. And on and on and on, and do an actual course for you. All right? I hope you like this video. If so, give me a like and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and don't forget to hit the little notification bell so that you receive, you know, future notifications of video releases. All right? Always wishing you guys love and light. Thank you.